people were like, the movement that you had before was intentional. The speed, the stamina, that's exactly how Nikita wanted it.
Yeah, the
and
realism crowd
Nikita,
were dying on that hill until Nikita went, that's not how I want it.
until I spoke to Nikita, he saw what I saw and went, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So all of those clowns who were like, this is exactly the hardcore experience.
Yeah.
They were wrong.
That's nail on the head. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jesse Kazam.
And I'm Veritas, and Tarkov sucks again.
No! Already?
Already, yeah. Pack it up, ship it, boys.
Pack it up. We had one good week.
I was totally wrong. It's dead.
We had one good week. Oh, no.
Dude,
tell me what's happening.
The last 3 days, the game's been unplayable for me.
Really?
Like today, the first raid of the day, my immersion raid, I'm all decked out, got good stuff. I got the P90, all the magazines with all the ammos that cost $1 million. I used my last usage of the marked key in customs. There was an ammo case, a foul, killed a few scavs, was like, I spawned right over by the campfire exfil.
Okay.
Where you just run up the road.
Yeah.
And then I went all the way over towards, on boiler side of customs, it was one of the first parts of the expansion that's a little camp kind of back there on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I got to there, literally 60 seconds from exfilling, and all of a sudden I see a guy along the wall. I go to ADS, I go, and the game becomes a JPEG.
Yeah.
And I'm dead. It froze for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm already great, good start to the day.
Yeah.
The next raid, I go into reserve after, having a decked out AK and all this other stuff, spending all my money once again. Get down into the reserve basement, and I'm like, oh, there's raiders. Finally, there's raiders down there, and there's no players. I'm like, yes. Start shooting at one of the raiders. Then I see a player up those little zigzaggy stairs.
Yep.
And I'm like, boom, 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 fades to black. Beep, beep. Network disconnected or whatever. And then it takes me back to the menu. Character.
Yep.
And I'm just dead in my stash.
Yep.
That was enough for me today, because yesterday for 10 hours straight, it was either cheaters or mega. The first 3 raids I had were I killed a dude, killed another dude, was about to kill the third one, and the guy pops out from a doorway looking in the complete wrong direction, and then kill. It's I can't play, dude.
Yeah. We've been talking about that a lot on stream about because now you get a few people, and not that I see a lot of these people, but it brings up an interesting point. You get a few people where it's if I died and no audio, or the invisible player bug, which we'll talk about in a second, and then I'm malding about it, you know what I mean? And then you get the sentiment of oh, well, yesterday everybody said Tarkov was fixed, and now everyone's complaining again. And that, not that there were many people that do that, but that sent me down a rabbit hole of Tarkov's in a really hard spot. Now, a self-inflicted wound, right? I'm not saying come on, guys, they're in a hard spot. But this past week was one of the biggest W's in Escape from Tarkov's history, all the changes. But it's hard to sit in that W when, I've been calling them just the big 3. Cheaters, audio, and networking are the biggest. If we could snap our fingers, those are the most important things. Those are the biggest issues with the game. When there hasn't been progress on those, it's hard to sit in the W, because you could be the recoil feels great, or the movement feels good, but when you're literally only hearing something out of your left ear and the guy's on your right, or when you die to an invisible player, or when you die to a proper actual cheater, or when you die behind a wall to it's hard to stay positive. And so they're in a really hard spot where it's everybody loves the changes and a lot of the stuff is good, but that's not going to turn the whole thing around, right? It's going to make, basically what that did is it made the playable raids playable again. But if there's only 4 playable raids out of 10, you, you can only be happy for so long because you're still at a greater than 50% chance of having some bullcrap happen to you. And so it's hard because like I'm sure they want to keep that positive vibes going. The audio patch they did the other day, I don't know what you've probably done more testing. I couldn't tell a difference. It still sucks wiener all over the place.
I don't even need to do testing. I instantly could just be like, nope, doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything. And the invisible player thing went from like I saw a clip of it on Twitter once or twice so far in the wipe to something happened in this past week where it's like playing in a duo, you get the benefit of figuring out if you have that bug before there's an enemy, right? And it's been like multiple times a day, multiple times a session the past few days where
I did one duo. It was actually a viewer kit. And he wasn't there.
Rip.
I'm sitting there with a hatchet in factory, like, but we both disconnected, we both rejoined, and we were both there. But some people have said that that it's only for your teammate, and that so it's like, well, then why would you die to? I think it's I don't know. It's
no, I mean it's definitely for other people, but oh no, okay, it's definitely other people. This was crazy, by the way. I was playing with Desmond. And you know how, I don't know if you've played enough with like duos to have this happen, but if you're like, if like Desmond's trying to run into a room right as I try and run out, you know how it gets super awkward and sometimes the camera like separates from your hands and you can like see your own hands and then it snaps back.
I've seen that like once ever.
I pushed Desmond into another dimension. I separated him from his body. I went through him and then I ran past him and he was like, whoa. And I was like, what? He was like, look at my camera. And I look over his stream and it's like he was listening to music, headbanging. Every time he walked, his camera was going crazy. And I was like, Desmond,
could you see like the backside of his eyeballs? Like
no, but I was like, Desmond, you're still up here. On my client, after that moment, we were 10 minutes into a raid. He was stationary upstairs with me, but I look over in his stream and his camera's freaking out and he's underground. And I was like, whoa. So I like separate him from, so he was like, let me restart. So he Alt F4s, he reconnects to the raid and he snaps back to his body. I was like, okay, cool. And then
you're invisible.
Then he runs out and I go, Desmond, there's a guy right there. Desmond, there's a guy right there. Desmond, there's a guy right there. And after it was a normal raid, he was helping with Shooter Born in Heaven. I shove him out of his own body. He Alt F4s reconnects and now everyone's invisible to him. And he dies to the invisible guy before I could kill the guy. So like, I know it's not just your teammates, it's other people too.
Yeah.
And there's no shot.
I died to one invisible player.
Yeah.
In the last like 40 hours of gameplay.
And I don't even know that I've died to any because I guess that's the benefit of the duo or the squad is like when you all spawn in, if somebody can't see someone, then everyone can Alt F4 and fix it before or whatever. But it's to have that go from like something that happened every once in a while to like it's happening really, really bad, really egregiously. That is making it really hard to like, so I guess we can talk about all this stuff, but I see what you mean and I get what you're saying. And it's like, and it's the big three. It's the networking and performance, which reaches into desync, stutters, rubber banding, and potentially the invisibility bug. I don't know if that's like a network related thing. And then the sound is just really bad. And then those things being so bad make it virtually impossible to tell how bad the cheater situation is. You know what I mean? So it's not ungratefulness to be frustrated at those things. We're grateful that BSG made the changes and we're grateful that they're like listening, but it's still a borderline unplayable game with these issues. You know what I mean?
It hurts extra bad.
Yeah.
Because,
if anything,
I had this like 3-4 day period where it was like, holy, Tarkov's back. And I think that what I wonder is if there was a massive influx of players coming back because of that, then RMT starts, people are like, oh, I'm late to the wipe, let me go get RMT. Then it turns the cheaters way up, and then, I don't know. And then this whole the whole invisibility thing. So there's a lot of it that's just like accidental.
For sure.
But then there were ways in which you could actually do it on purpose, and people were exploiting that.
Which I never even looked into that. I don't know how people did that, which is fine. You know what I mean? But like I heard that was a thing.
Yeah, I that doesn't really matter. I was in a group where someone was basically saying like, hey, here are the steps to reproduce the thing.
Mm.
Didn't actually like click on the, it was like a document, like didn't click on it because I don't give a
yeah.
but,
And I'm glad that some people found that information out so that they could like give directly. Like I know Nice Guy was like I sent it directly to Nikita, but I was like, I don't have that access, and so I don't even want to know. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah. So it's rough, man. It's you know, if anything, we got at least the hope and the glimpse of like, this game we love is still under there. You know, it's still in there.
Yeah, dude. I yesterday I also ran into a guy. I was actually like not super thrilled about this whole thing. It put me in like a mood. I was, after, you know, like solid 20 hours of just getting absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
Was in a customs raid, came out from Fortress, and I look over towards like all the scaffolding, old busted up construction area, and I see a dude go like super fast, turn and go up, 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 and I died at 7 chest shots, and I was wearing like level 5 or 6 armor, 7 chest shots, PS ammo, 7.6239, just beamed me and was like, okay, that's suspicious. It was an EOD account, level 40.
Yeah.
So I sent him a message because I can. There's a subtle difference in the way when people are zooming between when they're like catching up, like
to the
rubber
server,
band catching up, or whether they're like speed hacking. And this guy actually just looked speed hacky.
Yeah.
So I sent him a friend request, and I was like, "Yo, dog, you cheating? You know, like what's?" And he was just a major dickhead, and I was like, "There's a chance he's a streamer, right? Like that's the ultimate thing." And it's like, there's a chance the person. So I'm like, "You stream? You have any videos? You got any recordings? Because there's a chance he's legit, and I would love to see his side."
Yeah.
And he sends me a link to another streamer who was an, I don't even want to give names because I don't want anybody to possibly like.
Wait, so he sent you a link not to his Twitch, but to a different streamer's Twitch?
To a different Twitch. So I opened up that Twitch, and I'm like, is this the guy? And it was like an older dude, maybe in his 60s, big beard. Like he could have been a veteran from like Korean War or something. Like I have no idea. You know, I have no idea. Actually, it probably would have been Vietnam, if anything, but based on the age. But that's you know, completely beside the point. And I'm like, I don't think this is him, because the guy seemed like competent, but like not like he would be giga chatting around with massive backpack and like spraying people down. He, you know, didn't look like the type. And then all of a sudden, some people went into his clips and saw a bunch of clips of the same guy that killed me, killing him.
Okay.
In a bunch of different raids, he was getting killed by the same guy. This guy was basically stream snipe harassing this poor old guy who was like seemed like a super nice dude. And at one point he's like following around, voiping him, saying like you old man,
what?
Come over here, old. Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going full Rengar. Like, I'm getting this motherfucker banned. Like, get this dickhead out of here. The fact that he's like going around harassing people over and over again. I was like, dog, you want to come harass me all day long, dude. Like, anybody but like this poor guy.
That is legitimately like unhinged. Like, and to do that, you have to be the scum of the earth, and to like send that person's Twitch link to somebody else. Yeah. To like what brag about it? You know what I mean? That is some like actual monka.
He was a complete and utter clown. So yeah, basically, I don't know. We'll see if actually, you know what? I kind of want to pull up Tarkov again and see, because he was playing yesterday, and after that he got to 41, and then he changed his name. Because I was like, yeah, let's see if you get to 45, son. Let's see if this account makes it that long. I even asked him, I'm like, let me get your Discord, because when you get banned, I'm not going to be able to say I told you so on Tarkov. And he's like, I'm not giving you the. You know, he was just such a clown, this guy. But yeah, I was real mad, dude. Like, I can't stand that.
Oh,
people harassing people, and so anyway, I've just not had a great time. So right after that raid, actually, me and Clean and Nice Guy and Dottie Hack and a few other people, we ended up playing Battle Bit.
I'm so sad I missed that.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome, dude. It was
I've been
awesome.
trying to get into that game. I remember I mentioned this to you like months ago that I would like. It's like they know when I hang out with my family and do their tests. Their tests are always Wednesday night or Saturday morning, and those are like the only 2 times of the week I can't stream. I've been trying to get in to a test for so long. I'm so excited to try that game out.
I think,
Did you have fun?
Saturday is the next one.
Yeah, it's Saturday morning always.
Do you think? Oh yeah, you're
No,
not
I
going to be
can't,
able to
dude.
make this
We're
one.
going to a big train show for the little one. Dude, it's but that's okay. I was talking to Nice Guy a little bit, and they're like a few months away from potentially just like putting the servers live.
Yeah. No, it was awesome, dude. First of all, the movement and the gunplay felt unbelievable. Like, it's easy. I mean, you have to do the obligatory. It looks like Battlefield with Minecraft or Roblox graphics, but it's not like, they're not kiddie graphics. It's just like low texture polygon,
and
kind of
who
stuff.
cares? It feels good to have a game prioritize movement and gunplay first. You know what I mean?
Bruh, yeah.
It's like it's been 2 decades since a video game, a shooter game came out that we were like, day one, this feels good. You know what I mean?
And
like,
if anything, like, it kind of adds to it a little bit. Like, I was in a helicopter, dude, flying a helicopter. Clean is like, he was doing the whole. All right, boys, we got we're fast roping down over the sea, with the in-game VoIP. And I'm in there, and some dude's blasting like, "Highway to the king." Just going, and we're just like, and then there's a guy in the minigun like, just like laying into tanks. Dude, it was so fucking rad.
So sick.
And I look to my left, and I see the Minecraft ass looking face, and the guy's got gold teeth, and he's like, yeah, with a big red goatee beard. I'm like, oh,
that's
hell
so
yeah.
sick.
Dude, and the leaning, the optics, it's phenomenal.
Oh.
I was sniping like 600-meter shots. Dude, it was like knocking helmets off. Like, it was
and
so
the netcode feels
good.
really good, is what I've been told. It's just like pristine.
The netcode was exactly like what you'd want, which is I never once thought about the netcode. It never occurred to me. It just worked.
Oh,
right. It just worked. And the recoil felt like exactly what Tarkov recoil should feel like. Like, it was like, if you don't control it, but it was controllable. But dude, the optics and the movement, like, there's a million little windows and stuff like that. And every time I would run towards something, and I'd be like, man, I wish I could, and I would like vault, like mantle through a little crack. And I was like, oh, it just worked, dude. Every time you come to a railing,
dude.
It was so satisfying. And it was like 150 v 150, like.
Please.
Yeah, it was massive. It was sick. It was sick. So I'm looking forward to playing that a lot more. And that was like a balm to my
to the Tarkov pain
mental, because dude, Tarkov has just been terrible. And one of the things I wanted to talk about on that note, because it's even worse now, is some issues that I've been having just with the economy of the game and the play cycle. And this is something that we've talked kind of about before, but I've just been doing more thinking on. And it comes to the making money, quote unquote, making money, and how it can be simultaneously easy, but also have it not be like, that's not like the point. So I literally have like a quick little 900 paragraph rundown thing I want to walk through. So just to give an idea of like where we've come. So back in the day, there was no flea market. There was no hideout. There were no quests that were like, give us a 1,000,000 rubles. You got your rubles from selling whatever to the traders. And from I mean, that was basically it. Like, you'd find cash
quests,
and raid, but for the most part, it's quest rewards and selling to traders. There was no reason to have like more than 200,000 or 300,000 rubles that would buy you whatever you needed.
Yeah.
The rich people were the ones that had cases full of armor and guns.
Yeah, stuff you would use.
Yep, you would, and this was before ammo cases, before grenade cases. You would literally just
Get items cases.
grab the gun from the case, grab your fort armor and your fast MT from the case, and all you would need to do is grab mags, buy ammo, meds, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And you were just in and out, like the amount of time. So there's a few things that come from that, right? The amount of time you spend in raid is increased because you're spending way less time outside of raid.
Yeah.
You don't have to like make like 900 clicks to figure out who am I selling this to? What do I have to craft? This is, you know, like all this other. But then like over time, they make more quests. They make the quests more difficult because people are, you know, getting it in reaction to the streamers max everything out, get bored, and then about that there's no end game.
Yeah.
They go ahead and they add more quests, or they make the quests more grindy.
Yeah.
So all the while, the normal player is just having a worse experience.
Yeah.
People complain because so many of the quests are basically impossible because they can't keep up with the Giga Chads, with the Giga Gear, with infinite money. So then they go ahead and they, you know, add the hideout, and they add crafts for all the quest items. So now you don't actually have to go get any of the things.
Yeah.
You can just either buy the components on the flea market or find them, and you just craft your way through the quests.
Yeah.
So you're clicking your way through the quests. One of the biggest issues that I used to have, especially when the flea market first came out, was that like Gunsmith, you just buy your way through Gunsmith.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all it is like you'd spend 300,000 rubles to make 320,000 rubles and get some rep. Like it was just clicking for nothing. Well, now like so many of the quests are actually like that because of the crafts that you can that you do. So then because of that, the components for those crafts then become the sought after and most expensive things.
Yeah.
Whatever the current wave of everybody's
quests.
past the pocket watch, everybody's working on these things, everybody needs fort armors, everybody needs RSASs. There's like a wave of like, you know, popularity of these things. And then over the last few years, they go ahead and they add a bunch of different types of AI with really good gear guarding good loot on maps, lighthouse, labs, reserve. The poorly designed AI and the gear that they have and the loot that they're guarding just becomes farmable, right? It's just too good for people to farm them. So then this leads to massive inflation in gear and the amount of money people have, because now on day X of the wipe, everybody's got level 6 armor and BP ammo and blah, 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 right? Now, BSG doesn't like that. So in order to balance that, they don't actually fix the AI or fix any of the things or balance anything properly. They just turn their reaction time up to 11 and make them aim bots. And then they're basically impossible for normal players.
Yeah.
The min-maxy Giga Chad, you know, got to do everything the best way and the fastest way. Exploit the poor AI by like leaning through door jam cracks. And the average player suffers.
Yep.
Now, along with buffing the AI to make them OP, they then nerf the gear that the AI has and the gear that the AI is guarding.
Yes. Yeah.
So the loot. Like now you go to red keycard room and there's nothing there. You go to, you know, lighthouse and there's like nothing there half the time.
Yep.
And even those guys are rocking 8.55 ammo. They've got dog guns. I mean, like okay guns, but like not, you know, the greatest, but they're always kind of jacked up with ammo. Sometimes not even wearing armor.
Yeah.
So basically only the Chads, you know, the min-maxy guys, they go through, they take everything because now there's only one person amount of gear in all of the like rogue camp. Then as the games blows up in popularity, RMT surges, which subsidizes the never-ending cheating economy. And then to try and reduce the RMT, they make a bunch of changes. You can't drop for friends. We're going to turn up the flea market fees to the point where like you can't actually sell the key cards and all the other that you get. That's good. You can't Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. You see the cycle. Like, you know what I mean? You just listed
yeah.
like 4 different things and you can see the cycle.
So a million things have all contributed to basically pushing the viable gameplay
Yeah.
to the edges, to the
Yes.
boundaries. You
Yes.
either need to squat up and min max and cheese and, you know, exploit or whatever you have to do to basically make it so that like PvP can be viable, which either involves going in with a bunch of people, or cheesing AI or whatever. It's the fastest, most amount of, you know, combat, blah, blah, blah. That's one side, which is the Shift W Giga Chad stuff that like Nikita doesn't like, right? Like the stereo. And then on the other side, it's the other people can't compete. So they goblin in a bush until nobody's around and fill their backpack up with bolts and other components that are worth money.
Yeah.
And everybody, this is my contention. I don't have statistics on this.
Yeah.
But my contention is that like 70% of the community is in the middle and they play more like me.
Yeah.
Which is like they play solo, maybe the duo every now and then if their friends are also like home from work and their wives haven't, you know, and they go into raids and they go through and they do the quests. And when they have some money, they upgrade their hideout and they engage in PvP whenever they can. When it comes across their fight, they don't run, you know, that has become the least viable, the least fulfilling economically. Yeah, because there's a million taxes on every single raid.
That's a really good point that we've talked before about how the multiple systems in the game push the most viable game plays to the extreme. And I think you put that in a really good way. But what we haven't really acknowledged before, that as soon as you said it, I couldn't have agreed with more, is that I would bet my account that the lion's share of the community don't want to play either of those ways all the time. Sometimes it's fun to shift W when you have a bunch of money and you don't care. And sometimes it's fun to just go goblin mode. Me and Trey used to do that, and we would just crawl around labs just for the fun to go goblin loot mode. But I would say that most of the community, most of the time, doesn't necessarily want to pin themselves to either one of those gameplay styles. So that's a really good point. So that means that a lot of the people, a lot of the time, feel in the middle, and they feel, and it feels like you're fighting the game.
Yeah. And so I mean, basically in a nutshell, to me, it seems like if you go in and you kill a PMC or two and you kill 2 or 3 scavs and you take the stuff that makes sense off of them and then you loot, you know, a little bit here and there, maybe you have a key that you unlock for a room. And if you were able to survive 50% of the time, you should have a positive income. But right now it's totally the opposite, right? When you die, you have to pay 17,000 rubles to heal. You need to fill up your water and your energy, which is probably another 20,000 rubles, not to mention the fact that you probably never ate and drink the things you bought before for the last raid in your backpack. It's 70,000 for insurance. If you do pick up the guns and the armor, half the stuff you can't sell on the flea market. When you repair it, it's mad expensive. You either need to buy all these repair kits. The armor repair kits go way faster than the weapon repair kits. And they cost 500,000 rubles. It's like, it's just wild that I feel like the normal way that most people play, and that I think Nikita would want people to play, like go through, play kind of smart. It's the least viable way economically.
And I think like if you know, if what the changes these past few, okay, so like the changes that came have all been amazing changes. And the biggest W for me, outside of just like the stamina and movement changes, has been that the recoil changes have been an ongoing thing. Because what I was worried about originally was, here you go, you babies, here's a flat reduction to recoil and a flat reduction to camera recoil. But that wasn't what they did. They've been continually updating and adjusting. And so that made me think that, like, okay, maybe Trey's video, your video, and the and the response from the community actually showed them a different perspective, and they went, oh, that's interesting. that doesn't necessarily line up with what we want. Let's make some changes. And if that's true, I think this is another one of the, I'm not saying like Veritas make another video. I know it's, you know, I'm sure you've been asked like, hey, can you make a video about this? But I do think that this is another one of those areas where like everything you just said makes so much sense. And I would have bet that elaborated really black and white like that for Nikita, he would be like, no, I want people in the middle. I don't want people in bushes all raid, and I don't want people shift Wing all raid. I want it to feel like the raid series. I want to feel like squads or people moving through. And so, but then you have to ask, okay, well, does the game give us that experience? And it really does. I mean, we have been saying this for so long. This isn't like an epiphany we just had. Like it really doesn't do that. It doesn't push people towards that middle ground. It pushes people completely to either end. And it's hard because like there's a lot of things at play here. Like the flea market affected a lot of these things. You know what I mean? Like the being able to sell and just like have everything turn into money. But another thing that I feel like has an effect is that at least it seems from the outside, man, that BSG like thinks, I don't know. It feels like BSG thinks there are more streamers than there are, is one way to put it. I had somebody in my chat the other day trying to convince me that at least 50% of the Tarkov players were level 40 or above. And I was like, no way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
no way. But it just feels like to me that, you know, we saw these dudes with a bajillion rubles and farming all the things, and then they just like nerfed everything into the ground, not realizing that then makes it so only those people that had 80 million rubles now have access to the thing because they farm it more. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So I mean, a bunch of the people in chat are, I feel like, kind of getting it twisted a little bit, and I want to clarify a few things. So one, it's not about casuals.
No,
it's about a particular gameplay loop.
Yeah.
Which back in the day, the gameplay loop was you go in, you raid, you kill, you grab some, you exfil.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't you start the game up, you look at, you make sure all your crafts are going and you got fuel in your thing, you see what is trending on the flea market and sell whatever stuff you have, and then do your scav run on Lighthouse so that you can min-max the amount of loot that you can get out while completely avoiding pretty much all actual PvP.
Yeah.
Just to then get out, sell stuff on the flea market and do some more crafts, and then do a PMC raid.
Yeah.
And when you do that, either play one of two different ways, which are both on the extremes.
Yeah.
It's not that it's hard to make money.
Yeah.
Because it's not hard to make money.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think for the majority of players,
yeah,
it's almost impossible to have fun and play money without feeling like you're playing a mobile game, like where you have to just do your goddamn taxes in between raids.
Yeah.
And then that's all exacerbated by the fact that you get into a raid after you spent, like I spent 45 minutes selling stuff just to be able to get 2 loadouts ready the other day, and I had a total of like 19 seconds in 2 raids.
Yeah.
So 45 minutes of clicking for less than 30 seconds of raiding.
Yeah.
And then I was back to 0 rubles, and I had to get back to selling.
Yep. And I think, and I would go out on a limb to say that of the people that type in chat, making money is easy, I have 41 million rubles, that I would say there's like a 98% chance that person has 2,000 plus hours in the game or hasn't PvP'd in 6 months.
They have 700 scav runs and 3 PMC raids, and they're goblins.
And the thing is if you never go for PvP and you only scav, that's fine. And if you want to make money, that's fine. If you have 2,000 hours in the game and have a bunch of money, me too. I'm not ragging on people that have thousands of hours in the game that have money. I have money. I have 12 million rubles and I have 6,000 hours in the game. What we're saying is is it's been made pretty clear, especially recently, that they want Tarkov to feel like the Raid series and to feel like the trailers they make and to feel like the lore that they make. And it's pretty clear that playing that way is never involved in a positive net worth. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're saying. We're not saying you're stupid, ban you for having 6,000 hours.
I don't want to change anything about any of those people.
Exactly. When it's not like ban you because you hide in a bush or ban you because you have a lot of experience. But what you're saying when it's like, I have 41 million rubles, it's easy. You know what I mean? Like, sit down and play a game of chess against someone with 5,000 hours and have that person say, just beat me, you idiot. Chess is easy.
Yeah.
You are not considering what it was like to be new to this game or to only have a few hours a week to play or to have thousands of hours of experience but just not enjoy the Shift W lifestyle. You're thinking, I make money, it's easy, F everybody else. You know what I mean? So just like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty clear that I don't know what I completely agree, at least with what you're saying, that it's like, it just pushes people to the edge. And if you can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, I am in the category of the guy with thousands of hours and has a bunch of money and metas and Shift Ws, but it just like,
well, so here's a big thing. They keep needing to address the fact that because they make it so easy and risk-free to print money infinitely with the flea market and the hideout.
Yeah.
Those mini games that some people like and they love, you know, that time. There's massive inflation. So what BSG needs to do to counter that one specific way of playing the game is make everything else mega expensive.
Yeah.
Which doesn't affect the other people because they're literally printing money. All they need is the printer and the ink and the money's coming.
Yeah. So
they've inadvertently just punished normal players. It's not even that they're afraid to Shift W. It's just they've made it so that you have to spend so much time doing this other stuff that it's no longer viable. So here's what I would propose. And I'm sure that there's a million different things you can do to tweak this or whatever. I would get rid of post-raid healing entirely. The features left over, it's a tailbone. It's a vestige of a problem that doesn't exist. It was introduced to get rid of hatchlings.
Yeah.
It never did that. It never actually did that. And when you die, reset your health to full, reset your energy and your water to full. They need to reduce the amount that it costs to repair armor, and they need to make it so that like Morphine and Salewa are like 8,000 rubles each rather than 30,000 rubles each.
Yeah.
And make it so that insurance isn't what it is now because it's 10 times what it used to be.
Yeah, dude. And the insurance
then you can get into a raid for 200,000 rubles rather than 500,000 rubles.
Yeah.
And you've now tripled the amount of raids people could do per dollar.
Yeah. Yep.
It all just comes down to like someone in chat saying they have no respect for our time.
Yeah.
Either the people who don't want to spend the time, don't enjoy spending the time, or don't have the time to sit and play the mini game of the flea market and the hideout. Now another element too is add my quick sell feature that I proposed 2 years ago.
Yep.
Because when you make it so that you can to be able to figure out where to sell your junk items to, either on the flea or to which trader, and for how much. With my proposed feature, it's 3 clicks rather than right now it's like 50 clicks per item to go back and forth and look on a wiki and all this other stuff. All of those things would just make the experience infinitely more enjoyable for people. And then like what's the downside?
Yeah.
The rich get richer, and then now all the rest of us aren't poor.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the difference between 40 million and 80 million rubles? Literally nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Literally nothing. So yeah. and we can talk about those things too. We can talk about how to potentially prevent, because like we've talked about many times, there are ways that the game could be a little bit more intuitive to prevent the ability for those people that play a ton to just infinitely print money while not completely obliterating the people who don't play a lot. I think there's a lot of ways. We've talked about putting more things found in raid, but as a temporary stopgap, or not as temporary, but as a part of that solution, doing some of those things mean that the player experience for everybody else that isn't in that category is infinitely better. And it's crazy because
if you want 3 clicks, go play CS.
That's the most. That wins the most brain dead. I'm just gonna read it again. You want 3 clicks? Go play CS. Maybe, literally the most brain dead thing I've read in a Twitch chat in probably 6 months.
He unironically did the whole dude. The more clicks is hardcore.
Yeah, like
as terrible
as a
UX
not joke
is hardcore,
as
bro.
a not joke. That what that insinuates is that like more clicks to sell an item means Escape from Tarkov is more hardcore. And if you go play CS, if you want, dude, how many clicks is too many clicks? I wonder. Does he want to double the clicks?
How many clicks does it take to get to the center of his tiny brain?
Bro, should we do more clicks? That, holy cow. I completely lost my train of thought. Also, if you were what we're saying is the same thing about the movement, about the economy. And so I want to say, if your gut is like, all this sucks, Veritas wants to make the game easy, but you enjoyed the changes these past week, take a hot second and think about the movement and all that, the inertia and the weight changes and all that stuff. Everybody wanted that stuff back in the day because the Giga Chads were floating on moon boots and running around with full stuff. And then it took us a few years for a lot of us to realize that they were good changes, but they were way overtuned. And they were all really balanced in a vacuum. And when you smushed them together, they made the experience bad. And what we did was, we didn't take us all the way back to moon boots. We took us somewhere in the middle. And almost unanimously, the closest thing to unanimously this community's ever seen, everybody went, good job. So what we're saying...
Good job. Thank God you're a genius and you changed the game.
So what we're saying is, back in the day, a lot of these features weren't in the game, and a lot of these things weren't in the game, and people did this. And the same thing, a lot of changes were made. Some of those changes in a vacuum were good changes. All of those changes interacting with each other mean whether you can make money or not, the large majority of the player base is just punched in the dick for no reason. That's not hardcore. Clicking delete 7,000 rubles to heal is not hardcore, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And what we're saying is, don't get rid of the flea market, don't get rid of the hideout, but now to look at all these changes, not in a vacuum, look at them and how they interact and what happens to the player as a result, and make some changes and maybe dial it back. All right. So everybody just, take a chill pill and think about it through that lens. It's the same thing that happened with the movement.
And think about how many players were like the Giga Chad, hyper PvP, all the young cracked kids. People were saying you're wrong because those guys don't have any trouble in combat.
Exactly.
So you're wrong. And then those guys are saying, oh my God, you saved the game. Yes. You've made it better.
Yes.
The same fundamental misunderstanding about why these are problematic issues. Like, people forget how they're like, oh, I never understood how much of a difference these changes could make to the gameplay. I never had the perspective. I love what you did there, but over here, I'm just going to go ahead and say you're completely wrong and I totally disagree. And I must understand fully what the nuance of your argument. It's like, oh my God. I'll just go ahead and say I'm right on this in exactly the same way as I was right on that. It's the context and the nuance and the history of how all of these things came about, and in the specific ways in which they hurt the gameplay. that weren't obvious to people before.
Yep.
And I think it's one of those things that
I agree.
you know, Nikita could tweak in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. And I agree. And this is one of those things where if your gut reaction is, oh, well, this makes the game easy, it makes it Fortnite, it makes it casual, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's the essence. We've talked about this many times, so we don't have to harp on it again, but the essence of what makes Tarkov a hardcore game and a brutal game and a punishing game is not how many clicks it takes to sell something on the flea market. It's not these tedious little things. You're just wrong. It does make the game less enjoyable, and if your desire is the least enjoyable game possible, then sure, maybe your opinion is right, but you're wrong about that. It doesn't make the game less hardcore. It doesn't take away the essence of Tarkov. You know what I mean? Like we have 1,000 billionaires and 10 million people with 30,000 rubles in their stash. All right. That's
but those people
good dispersion. You know what I mean? Like it's less fun for everybody.
Everybody with all that money, though, so many of those people, they think like I've overcome this thing and I earned it.
Yeah.
In just the same way that people who were bad at the game before were winning more fights because it was coin flippy RNG.
Yeah.
People. So there was something I was gonna say, and I just spaced what it was. No. Yeah. Oh, okay. Here's what I was gonna say.
Come back.
There's like a threshold. There's a threshold where, you know, like let's say you survive 100% of your raids. Obviously, it's full profit, right? Let's say you survive 0% of your raids. You're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
There's a threshold where it's like, all I'm saying is that I feel like most people, the majority, the average player who should be able to succeed and prosper, they don't have to be billionaires, but
correct.
You know, have enough money to wear some mid-tier kit every raid.
Yeah.
The line, they're below the line now, and that line is there not because Nikita meant it to be there. It wasn't this specific thing. It was a million changes that pushed the line higher and higher and higher and higher and excluded more and more and more people and more play styles that Nikita doesn't like. This is another one of those cases where I'm telling people, if they disagree with me, then I genuinely believe they disagree with Nikita.
Yeah.
And what he wants.
Yeah.
And the proof will be in the pudding when I make this proposal to Nikita and I explain it to him and he recognizes where we are now and where the economy is. Like, you think Nikita knows where that threshold is of like, you know, you need to survive 30% or 60%? Like, of course not.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody does, but I think I have a pretty good idea based on the calculations that I've done and all the things that I've looked into. It just like to get into a raid, it just costs way too much money. Yeah. And then couple that with all the other bullshit. It's too much. The rent is too damn high.
The rent is too damn high. And you know what's crazy too is like I really truly believe that like I think, well, I mean, we've seen in the Tarkov community a lot that just like change is just bad. You know what I mean? So what I find interesting is I would bet that every single one of the things you mentioned, if those things were changed in the game, nobody would complain. It would like if they made a quick sell slot, nobody would retweet that and be like L. You know what I mean? Like everybody would be like, yes. But if you say, or I say, I want a quick sell slot, somebody says, go play CS if you want less than 3 clicks. If they took away after post raid healing, I would bet my entire 6,000 hour account, nobody would retweet that and say, I can't believe they took away post raid healing. But when a player, when you do it, or I do it, or Landmark does it, or Pestily does it, you're trying to casualize the game. And the flip side of that is every one of those changes when they were added to the game were unanimously complained about.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like And so it's just it's almost not even like worth discussing or like reading chat or like, you know what I mean? Because it's I don't know where.
Dude, they're just gatekeeping.
Yeah, I don't know where
they
it
just
came from. This like, I don't know, man. I sometimes I feel like it's back to that lifeboat theory, man, where it's like this game is hard. It's known for being hard. I've pushed through what makes it hard, so that makes me better. And any threat to that, any threat to some of what makes it hard, whether what makes it hard is a beneficial to the game, like some mechanics are, or not beneficial to the game, like some of the mechanics we're talking about, that means I did less good of a thing by coping and pushing through and achieving the success. You know what I mean? Like,
no, dude, you got dudes like this guy who's saying he likes post raid healing because he can get that XP. He can choose whether or not he wants to pay or use the Grizzly. Think about what you're talking about. You're talking about needing to heal your PMC after you are dead.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. It doesn't make sense. Whether or not you like there's some cool thing that comes from it, it's nonsense.
Yeah.
It was there to try to prevent basically an exploitative gameplay of people hatchlings before found in raid.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was added like between when they added the flea market, but before found in raid, because what would happen is there was only like one Bitcoin or one LEDX spawn. The hatchling would sprint in, be faster than everybody, get to the LEDX, put it in their container, and disconnect.
Yeah.
And this at least made it so that they'd have to pay 20,000 rubles as like a tax. Well, now when you go in and I wipe a 6-man squad and then I die every other raid, it's just a tax on that's left over from some bullshit 3 years ago. But because people
are used to it,
and they like it because they get to choose. It's like, give me a break. Honestly, to me, it feels like it's like almost like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
No. I love that he beats me and keeps me shackled up because otherwise I would be out in the cold, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be out in the cold. At least I have a warm concrete floor to lie on between beatings.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. I don't understand.
Yeah. And oh, now I was gonna say something I forgot. Yeah. And it feels really hard for people to imagine that we can take something away and that there could be a more elegant solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of the point here is, like you said, there are a lot of mechanics left over that fix problems we don't have, right? Like hatchlings aren't a problem. People being able to run in, put a LEDX up their butt, disconnect from the raid, and then sell that LEDX on the flea market for 1 million rubles and print money. That is not even, we don't have that problem anymore. Done, case closed. We don't have that problem anymore. But fixes to that problem are still in the game. And there's a lot of those things. And once again, the proposal here isn't just take away all the mechanics of the game and make the game Fortnite. The proposal is dig out some of the things that fix problems we don't have, and then go back and look at some of the other fixes for the problems we do have and create more elegant solutions to them. You know what I mean? Like a huge, and you want to know a great example of this? And you want to know something that almost unanimously the community got behind? Bosses at 5% in the beginning of the wipe. You know what I mean? Everybody was like, where are the bosses? Where are the bosses? And that's a not elegant solution to the problem. It's like we have the cool bosses and the cool AI, and they want them to have cool loot, but we don't want people to farm them, so we'll just make them not there. Even though there are quests that say go kill them, or even separated from the quests, it's a cool mechanic of the game. Like it's a cool part of the game, making the raids dynamic and running into a boss. And then you have that disperses. So doubly unelegant about it is that it disperses differently to the bosses. Sturman only has one spawn. So even at 5%, he's relatively easy because you just keep grinding. You know what I mean? SJ6 run to the middle, but Killa has 40 spawns. So at 5%, you could go 100 raids without seeing Killa and maybe 10 raids without seeing Sturman.
And then it insta kills you the one time you actually see
evenly. So they see a problem. And that problem is to make a game mechanic they made worse. You know what I mean? Just take it out of the game. Like, how is that an elegant solution? And people go, well, that's a good thing because we don't want people farmable. And it's like, man, let's just roll this back and throw something else at the wall and see what sticks, right? Yeah. Sturman, nobody's worried about you farming Sturman. Why? Because he doesn't have armor. He doesn't have a helmet. He doesn't have good meds on him. He has an SVD, which not many people like, and an AK, a stock AK. Nobody's been worried about farming Sturman. So why does Sturman get the same ridiculous changes that the other bosses get, right? So it's like, you kind of have to admit that there's some, so like that's a good example of change. The changes could be different. They could be a little bit more eloquent than what's in the game, but I don't know. I don't understand why some of these other things are just like so hard for people to wrap their heads around.
I mean, ultimately, people, they look at the way that the game is now, and if they think that they're in an okay spot, they forget that, like, where the game is now with the economy and everything like that, it's an accident.
Yes.
Like, just in the same way
viewed
that,
as intentional.
Like, people were like, the movement that you had before was intentional. The speed, the stamina, that's exactly how Nikita wanted it.
Yeah, the realism crowd were dying on that hill until Nikita went, that's not how I want it.
until I spoke to Nikita, he saw what I saw and went, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So all of those clowns who were like, this is exactly the hardcore experience.
Yeah.
They were wrong.
That's nail in the head.
It was literally just, we ended up, you turn a bunch of knobs and you end up with an end result that you don't intend. And that's the way that the economy is now.
Yeah.
But people say, oh, well, you know what? I'm in an okay position, so don't change it. Yeah. Maybe they're scared that no longer they will be able to market farm their way through, you know, maybe they're worried, maybe not. Maybe they're just being like selfish gatekeeping douchebags. Yeah. And they think, oh, well, I've made it. And the reason why you haven't, it's your fault.
Exactly. I think it's the other way. I don't think they're worried they can't make it if things change. I think they're worried that more people could make it if things change.
They're not special anymore if everyone has 40 million.
I think that's a big part of it. Obviously not everybody, you know what I mean? Not everybody. If you got offended by me saying that, it might be you might be the drama, you know what I mean? But obviously not everybody, but I do think I think that's part of it, is it's just like, I've got 40 million and so many people don't, and so I feel special. And the thing is once again, the last thing I'd want is for this conversation to be reduced to Veritas and Jesse want everybody to have 40 million. You're still looking at it wrong if that's your thing, right? I don't want anybody to, I don't care if anybody does or doesn't have 40 million. I want the mechanics of the game to service actual like skill, right? And if you are good and if you can be proficient and if you do play a lot, I'm fine if you have 40 million or 60 million or 100 million. But I want to be able to foster that skill and those mechanics, and I want the economy to be intentional. Whether it's intentionally something I don't like or I do like, you know, whatever. But exactly, in a lot of ways, it's not intentional. There
are people that say, I've been playing for less time than you. Veritas, you're way better than me. You have more experience. You're better in combat. Why do I have 40 more million rubles than you? Yeah. Well, the reason why is it's not because they're better than me.
Yeah.
It's just because their particular play style is one that isn't punished by the poor design.
Yeah.
And mine is.
And you want to continue to play the game the way that you enjoy to play the game, and the game design punishes that.
Yeah, and also I would argue that I think that the way I play is arguably closer to the intended the intended gameplay
series.
Loop and style that Nikita would want, more so than the ultimate rat and the ultimate Chad. So,
and a lot of times it's just like take the two to the logical conclusion. You know what I mean? Like extrapolate. You know what I mean? A lot of the changes that we agree on here, the logical conclusion, it extrapolated all the way to the end, isn't that everybody has 100 million rubles, nor is it nobody has 100 million rubles. It's that it's a gradient and not 50-50. 50 with 0, 50 with 100, or 60-40, or whatever. It's a gradient. It's that you come across people at different skill levels, at different player levels, with different amounts of money, with different proficiencies. That people that play slow feel like they can be good. People that play fast play good. That landmark still W can. That Rengar still W can. That tower still sniping. It's not that we want to get rid of any of that, but it was just we just want to make room for more, and that there's a gradient. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's I don't know. Yeah. Before
are you seeing the same? I think you're seeing all the same messages that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm refusing to adapt, just like I refuse to adapt with the stamina and the weight.
Yeah, and yeah. So before
and then I fix the game for everyone.
Before we move on, as we yet again come to the desire to want to bonk people in chat and or desire to restrain ourselves from it, we would like to take a second to thank the sponsor for this this episode. But seriously though, we'd like to take a second and a brief second to thank the sponsor for this episode, and that is BetterHelp. If you've been around here, you guys know for a while we've been partnered with them, and we've been working with them for a while, which is cool. We both have kind of like personal experiences with BetterHelp, but if you're not sure what BetterHelp is, it's basically an online platform to get help, to talk to licensed therapists, and it's a really easy and cool layout and way for you to talk to somebody, whether you're struggling with anxiety or whether you like really need help with something specific. You know, something I say all the time as someone who went through a like 5 years of therapy with somebody, I think like what I ended up arriving at is, I've talked about this before, that, you know, it's a preventative thing too. You know what I mean? We don't only eat healthy when there's big problems, but eating healthy can help you prevent big problems. You know what I mean? And so BetterHelp, I have personal experience with, and it's been really cool.
I mean, here's the deal. Without BetterHelp and without therapy, Chaboy wouldn't have made the video he made.
Yeah, we wouldn't have gotten
Tarkov
to the video.
No, I would have given up. I would have given up.
Yeah.
And the two weekly sessions I had, the one the week before my video came out and the one the week after, I can't explain how different those went.
Yeah.
It's massive. And it's just one of those things. Mental health shouldn't be stigmatized. Don't let people don't let people stigmatize you like enjoying
for sure
your life.
That's that's the most ridiculous thing. So this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp, and we really thank them for that. Like we said, there's the two sides of it. There's the sides of like Veritas was saying, do not let other people or any stigma prevent you from that, because like it's not worth it. And then the other side of like what BetterHelp specifically provides is like an amazing evolution in how this works. The ability to communicate via notes to your therapist throughout the week, the ability to instantly switch to somebody else, because it's all about finding somebody that you can vibe with, that you can be honest with, that you can talk to. And so this BetterHelp really like pushes that envelope forward and helps. So it's awesome. Once again, just a huge thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode and working with us these past few months. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/podcast today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/podcast. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this episode.
Do it. Just
do it. Do the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, when it comes down to with Tarkov, like, I'm sad to see. I mean, I don't know. You haven't like made a video about it or anything, or it's just kind of anecdotally through conversations we've had with chat. But I'm sad to see a lot of resistance to like applying the logic that brought the single biggest W in Tarkov history to just other parts of Tarkov, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the same logic as we laid out of, and some level of empathy can be extended to Battlestate games in some ways that like we said, in a vacuum, a lot of these things were to address specific problems we had. It's just maybe we don't have some of those problems anymore. You know what I mean? Like, Kill is such an easy example. You know what I mean? Like, he spawned 80% of the time in one spot, and he couldn't physically move or shoot when you were applying damage to him. So bring a Keter, right? Yeah. And so many changes were made to him, and none of those problems are there. He can shoot you while you're shooting him. he doesn't spawn at all, and he spawns nowhere consistent.
Yeah.
But kill is still the same way. And it's like, well, who wouldn't want some of those things reverted? And so it's just, yeah, it's interesting.
The issues with the design and the balancing, like, ignore whether or not you think that everybody should be able to make money. Like, ignore all of that stuff. Remember, it's a beta, right?
Beta.
It's a beta. A million things are going to change. The game's going to be completely different when we have all these things. We're going to wipe a dozen times before, 1.0 comes out, or so. And then think about all of the issues that we have. Invisible players, no sound, fucking busted netcode, 20 frames on streets.
Yep.
Like, the fact that you're constantly getting completely bent over by all of these things outside of your control, I just find it absurd that, like, someone can be experienced, clearly competent at the game, like myself, and because of all of the that I have to run into and some of the tweaks with the economy, it's effectively, like, impossible for me to play without spending most of my time in my stash clicking and selling. I just want to raid. That's all I want. And honestly, like, there's probably so many people with less experience that are just not as good at the game as I am. And I'm not even saying I'm good. I feel like I'm middle of the road. That are struggling even more than me. So
dude, it's funny. Like, I know this person in chat said this as a joke. You made the 20 PMCs, 20 frames, and he was like, just buy a beast PC. What's the problem? And that's funny. Like, I'm not like, that's hilarious, but that's the logic of a lot of the, like, resistance to the changes. You know what I mean? That's the logic of, like, I have 40 million, get good. It's like, well, I have a 4090 and a top of the line thing, just get more frames, idiot. And it's like, I've got
a 9700K and a 3080, and I get 50 frames these days on even, like, maps that used to be optimized.
No, and like I said, the chatter, and I know it was sarcasm. I'm saying it's funny because, like, it sarcastically, like, made a poignant point is what I say. So I totally understood your thing was sarcastic. I just think
getting in a battle bit and getting 450 FPS. And I think we played for like 4 hours, and I think we spent less than 60 seconds out of the game.
Damn.
I spend more than 60 seconds when I alt F4 the game because I have to. To wait for it to the .exe to kill its process.
When I get out of a raid, it takes me more than 60 seconds to just get to my stash. Like a lot of times, like Seals, like, I'm ready for the next one. Like, he's gotten to his stash. He's put everything from his backpack. He drank his water. He had his food, and then he went back to the lobby. And I'm like, I'm not in my stash yet, bro.
Dude, you know what? You know what's actually a different way to put this too? This could be solved in a number of different ways that doesn't even need to be economy. Like, what I really want is to just raid with some gear. That's actually what I really want. So you could look at it like, one thing that just came to mind. Imagine if I could take a scav junk box and I could say, transfer this to the scavs to sell for you. And imagine what they did was they went through and every, like, 5 minutes sold things for you for like 80% of the lowest flea market thing. So you wouldn't get as much as you could, but it would just be automated behind the under the covers, just like a craft is. So that I could basically be turning my garbage into money, so that when I get out of a raid, I can quickly buy a Salewa and an SJ6 and repair my armor and get into another raid. Right? Like, that isn't me saying I want the game to be easier or more casual. It's not saying that I have a hard time making money.
The game is the same.
It's just I just want to raid. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Yep.
The game will die off if it's fast to do raids. Man, you gotta love the.
That is.
I'm invited. We need him special guest on the
Holy
next
cow.
episode because I need to have this conversation as to why
There's no way
people
that's
actually playing the game
that was a
and enjoying
real
it.
chat message. I hope that was sarcasm too.
I don't think so.
Please God. Okay, so to move on to other Tarkov related topics, I wanted to talk a little bit about the W, which was the changes that were made and how many changes have been made since that first week. You know what I mean? So, okay, so multiple times there have been passes on more guns and their recoil dispersion. So like for instance, the Scar L and the RD704 after that initial pass were busted because it was flat. It was like everybody got 20% less camera recoil, everything got, less recoil dispersion, and it was like, yo. And so like they were really quick to adjust that. Multiple other times, more guns were adjusted. So like they made some AKs. They just recently went back and like the AK-74U and a bunch of that stuff, and they made those better while nerfing the Scar L again because the Scar L was already really good. So like they've continued to balance that out. That's been a W. They took some of the ammos and some of the ammos that had like it added to the recoil of the gun, and they reduced that amount. W. This is something we've specifically talked about on the podcast before. We've talked about when we talk about the weight system, we talk about the real heavy armors, like the Gen 4 full, the one with the arms and the thing. And we were like, there should be a positive to the negative, which like, I remember saying this to you on the podcast. It almost makes me think they were listening. I was like, imagine a Gen 4 had like 150 durability. And you were like, yeah, like it could tank. The Thor armor, the Redut armor, and the Gen 4 full all had their max durabilities increased while having their movement penalties decreased. W. The flea market fee was reduced by 30%. W. They increased the play area for capturing outposts on shoreline, so you can get kills on the bridge to the pier and a little bit in front of the gas station there. That was a good change. They made some more adjustments to recoil again. They changed some ammos. Oh, and then what they did just yesterday was the skills at which your the rate at which you gain weapon skills, so sniper, assault rifle, recoil control, were increased by 40%, which is fine because I feel like 7 people got recoil control, every wipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that benefits sniper skill because that skill sucks to level. And then the change that they made reducing the ergo hit and movement penalty to the armors, they did to the helmets. So we'll feel even more mobile and even snappier and even less ergo, hit to our guns.
And it still won't be COD.
And it still won't be
laser beam.
Yeah.
It's still, yeah.
So a lot of under the cover W's since that change. Did you see the temporary accidental buff to BCP FMJ?
Yes.
It got buffed to
50 pen, right?
Yeah, but like it did get buffed that day to it went from 31 pen to 36 pen, which was fine. But then for some reason for like an hour it was 50 pen and 83 damage. And it was like the best round and you could buy like 1,200 of it, you know what I mean? Anyways, so a lot of under the cover W's. So it's been really cool to see that those changes. Like the biggest thing I was hoping was that I hope that the core of the issues landed with BSG and Nikita and not just the symptoms. And that's what makes me think they've like, whether it was your video or somebody else's video or somebody whispering in Nikita's ear, it was a huge just like weight lifted that like they've continually made these changes and it keeps pushing us into the better direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's dope. So yeah, I just want to take a second to do that. Have you?
I can't wait for them to fix some of these issues that seem newish, the performance and stuff.
Yeah, the invisible bug.
Yeah, because the game, like when it's not, it still feels amazing.
Exactly. Have you? I doubt it. But as a funny Tarkov anecdote to talk about, have you been keeping up at all with the Lightkeeper quests and the Lightkeeper quest line? Okay, I not that,
All I know from thumbnails, basically.
yeah. Okay, not that I'm going to not that I'm gonna get a reaction out of you that I don't like exactly think, but I wanna take you on the journey. Okay, so to get the quest from Mechanic that begins the quest line of how you are introduced to Lightkeeper, you have to complete a bunch of tasks. It's almost like a mini Kappa. You have to have Punisher Part 5, bullshit, house arrest, cargo, whatever. It doesn't quest. And then that quest is turn in 4 found in raid electronic components, 4 military COFDMs, 4 gas analyzers, 4 G phones. Cool, whatever. Found in raid. Then you get network provider Part 2, where you get a craft to craft some crazy transmitter. You got to plant 4 of those transmitters. Okay, cool. Then you get, still from Mechanic, not from Lightkeeper, you get assessment Part 1, and you have to kill 20 PMCs on the lighthouse, okay? So before the bridge, because you can't cross the bridge, right? Because you blow up. That bridge and that little empty area where the tank is, just
where nobody goes.
You have to kill 20 PMCs in that area. There are 2 reasons why human beings will be there. 1, you're on that quest. 2, the raid is 6 seconds old and you spawned there and you're running away immediately. I don't know anybody that's done it that hasn't cheesed it. Because why
With,
would
like,
people?
Their friends
yeah,
or yeah.
yeah. Why would people be there? So you have to kill 20 PMCs in that area. Then you get assessment Part 2. You got to place a bunch of markers on woods. Then you get assessment Part 3.
Wait. So sorry, I can never understand these things. When do you have to be in the area?
No, they do.
Like
the person you kill.
See, that's more annoying,
Yeah,
right? When
yes.
it's like you can't control what other people are doing.
You can't be in the area and snipe people out of the area. You have to wait for somebody. So you could kill a guy and he could be on the other side of an invisible boundary and you would just never know, and then you don't get the thing.
Dude, someone in chat said my friend did it legit. I actually just don't believe it.
It can happen. If he spent 6 days.
Why would you go there?
If you spent 6 days playing Lighthouse and and just as often as possible you got the path to short line spawn, or no, sorry, the southern road spawn, you run up and you snipe the guy or the 2-man of Timmy's, or you get lucky and see a group of people marking that tank. It's just so, and we're going to come back to this because the theme here is unnecessarily tedious. So it's not impossible. I'm saying everybody I know that did it, cheesed it. I'm not saying nobody's done it legit. So once you do that, you get assessment Part 2. You have to place a bunch of markers on woods. Fine, that's it. That's a fine quest. Then you get assessment Part 3, and you have to eliminate 10 raiders in labs, and you have to turn in 20 SJ1s. Those are craftable. 8 SJ6s. Those are craftable, and 2 SJ9s. And the only way to get them is like get lucky on your scav or in Black Room. So you just gotta get good. Get a black key card.
Wait, the SJ9s?
It's the thermal. No. It's the is that the thermal one?
I feel like I have a ton of those.
You probably have SJ12s.
You're probably right. Let me check.
It'll lower body temperature by 7 degrees.
I have a bunch of stims that I just will never use.
Yeah.
But I'm just keeping them because, I might need them.
Okay. So let's say you find all those stims. Maybe you got lucky. You got them on your thing. Then you get the quest Keys to the Tower. Okay. And you have to find a bunch of stuff. You have to turn in a bunch more found in raid military circuit board, another COFDM, a working LCD, whatever. And then you have to find the radio transmitter body, which has like, you know how some of the quests now, when you go into the room where the quest item is in, it can be in like 3 places now. This can spawn in one of like 50 spawns on the map Lighthouse. So every time, as long as this quest is active, every time you spawn in, it spawns somewhere. And there's like 50 spawns, dude. And so you have to find this thing. And then
there's something about that particular thing that I like in and of itself.
Yeah.
Just maybe not a part of this complete AIDS sequence.
I agree. Then you get knock knock, where you get the transmitter body and you actually go to the Lightkeeper. You get the thing. And then the first Lightkeeper quest is you have to turn in a bunch of flash drives, and then you get another Lightkeeper quest where you have to survive through all of the cars on like every map that has a car extract. That's fine. Then you have to do some streets quest, and all of these, every single one of these quests, once you complete it, you have to wait 24 hours until the next one. All of them. Okay. Once you get to Lightkeeper, every single task is gatekeeped.
God, I hate that, dude.
And then there's like a delivery from the past type deal where you have to obtain something, intelligence from a lighthouse, and then you have to obtain another intelligence folder from reserve in RBST, and then you have to stash the two. And if you die, you have to like start over on both maps. Then you have to wait for 24 hours. Then you have to eliminate 25 PMCs on the Sniper Rock, the mountain on Woods. Not anywhere on Woods. You have to like 25 PMCs on the Sniper Rock on Woods. Okay. And find a bunch of materials and turn them in. Then you got to wait 24 more hours. Then you have
this is so
Then you have to kill
getting mad.
Gluhar, and specifically 7 Gluhar guards. He only spawns with 6 maximum. So you have to find Gluhar twice for this quest. And then shoot a yellow flare off somewhere arbitrary. Wait 24 more hours. Then eliminate 30 enemies around Kiba using an Ash 12, but scavs count. But 30 enemies around Kiba using an Ash 12. Then wait 24 hours. Then eliminate 20 raiders. And you have to, this one, you specifically have to get into the black room for this quest. You have to stash something there or search something in there. So kill a bunch of raiders. If you don't have a black key card, get one. 24 hours. Then you have to stash a Reap IR and a 338 Lapua suppressor. Then you have to wait 24 hours. Then you have to kill 10 sniper scavs from over 500 meters away. There's like 2 spots in the game you can do it. That's fine. I have 500 meter shots. I think that's awesome. But it's just like there are
how many? You said 10?
10 sniper scavs. So not just any scavs, sniper scavs, 500 meters. So there's like a spot on Woods and like a really janky doodle spot on customs where you can like snipe the one in the silo. And you have to reach level 10 sniper skill, which, small diatribe here, the sniper skill has been one of the most busted skills in the game for a while, in the sense of like it makes no sense. You know, it's active.
I recently talked to Nikita about this.
Okay, which is fine. But like just from a player's perspective, you're rewarded for doing everything but kill a player. As an acknowledgement of how bad that skill was, they made 3 quests give you sniper skill. Shooterborn in Heaven gave you 1 point. Mentor gave you 3 points. Mentor is literally a quest to just buy sniper skill points, 50,000 ruble euros, and Tarkov Shooter Part 8. Okay, this wipe, instead of fixing the skill, they made those quests give you a set amount of skill points, and that set amount of skill points is much less. So for Mentor, I turned 50,000 euros in for 2.09 skill points instead of 3. So then I had to reload a Mosin again to get to level 7 for that quest. Okay. And then this quest is eliminate 10 sniper scavs from 500 meters away and reach sniper skill level 10. So they didn't fix the skill. They made they made their own workaround for the other skill less. They made it do less, and then added another quest to get farther. Then you kill something on streets of Tarkov, launch a yellow flare, and then this is the last one, and then kill 50 PMCs on streets of Tarkov. Okay, every single one of those quests is 24-hour time gated. Once you get to Lighthouse, guess what happens when you do that quest? That one,
you get an email saying you've been signed up for the pre-sale alpha test of the lightkeeper.mov video.
Yeah. No. You know what happens?
What?
Nothing. It's just the end. Vibin and a few other people did that quest like 4 or 5 days ago. He doesn't sell anything.
I'm assuming
He did.
So can he?
As of yet.
But
yet.
what changed though? Can he get there and like talk to like? Did something actually change?
No, I mean, like, once you stop getting the quests from mechanics, so after the first like 4 of that huge long quest, you get the transmitter that you then put in your special slot, and as long as you have that, you can go out on the lighthouse and go talk to him. And then all of those quests, all those other quests I listed out, you actually have to go to Lightkeeper to turn in the quest and then accept the new quest from him. And you go all the way through that quest line. And as of yet, it could be that the next quest is 7-day time gated. But all I'm saying is that as of now, what happens after you do all those quests is absolutely nothing.
They had to have data mined though, like, right? People know there's nothing that comes after that, or are we not sure?
They were adding the quests to the game as they went along. As far as I know, none of the data mine. I didn't see any of every single time there was somebody like vibing.
That's why they were time gated. They're like, because nobody will be able to put out a new quest every day. It feels like
Dimitri's job is to go, oh no, Vibin completed the quest. What's the next one? I'm not saying that that's all what's happening, but it feels like that's happening. And so, like, and listen, there are people, like Nice Guy is one of them. I've had some conversations with him. I've seen him post on Twitter that, like, maybe we misunderstood what Lightkeeper was supposed to be, and what Lightkeeper was supposed to be was one of the multiple ways you beat the story of Tarkov and, like, escape Tarkov. You know what I mean? Because they've talked about that before. You're going to be able to escape, and then after that, you're going to be able to go back and play if you want, blah, 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 blah. There's still so many thoughts I have. 1, why put him in the game? 2, why hype him up for an entire year? Because he got delayed an entire year. 3, I really feel like, maybe I'm talking out my butt here, so I'm going to put this caveat. I really feel like they alluded to the fact that he was like a trader that we could purchase things from.
Yeah, I wonder if when they said trader, they just meant, oh yeah, the quest part of the trader.
Maybe they meant quest giver. You know what I mean? I don't know. And then even if you have a rebuttal for all of those things, even if it's like, Jesse, you're just salty, right? Like, which I'm very willing to admit that maybe there's a reality where this was the plan. There's a good reason that Jesse doesn't know, and I'm just salty. I'm very willing to admit that there's that possibility. I'll die on the hill though that similarly, how there's a difference between a game being hardcore and it being a good mechanic for me to have to click 100 times to sell something, there's a difference between hard quest design and bad quest design. And kill a bunch of people in a place where no matter what point of the wipe you're in, there's no reason to be there is bad quest design. It's just like,
well, I mean, that was the same way with capturing outposts.
Yes.
No, so the only other thing that comes to mind though, because I remember one of the quests you said, so in order to get the quests, you have to go to Lightkeeper.
Yeah.
Does that make it so that you pass through this zone? Because that's the only other thing I can think of is that the more it's like it's just like capturing outposts, which is nobody goes there until there's like
everybody's doing the quest.
Until everybody's doing the quest.
But now that servers are regionalized and there's less of a chance for you to like it's just there's more people and more variety of people in the servers. Once again, in order to get the first quest, the first of 5 quests that then give you the device that allows you to cross the bridge, you have to do 75% of the tasks that are Kappa required. So it's like, if the Lightkeeper task line started at like level 3 proper, and almost everybody in the community had the opportunity to begin the quest line, well then so many more people would be traversing that bridge. But you have to get 75% of the way to the Kappa to start 5 really hard quests that at the end of those 5 really hard quests, you then get the item. And you have to kill the 20 PMCs before you even get the item. So you can't cross yet until you kill those 20. Dude, so...
terrible.
Hey, dude, I was so excited. And I was like, I'm not going to grind for Kappa. I'll just grind Lightkeeper. And then I was like, I don't know. And then it was like, well, I'll just wait and see what happens at the end and then decide. And there is no, and as of yet, something could happen any day now. But I was like,
okay, now you're being too generous.
I was like, bro, I don't get it. It's crazy. I have absolutely no desire. It's cool, and if you have the thing, you have an infinite money glitch, because that part of the map has insanely good loot, and you can only get there if you have the thing. And 20 the transponder,
lighthouse?
yeah, the lighthouse. So like there's a mark like all last wipe.
Can you exfil there?
No. You have to come across it. But like all last wipe, we could go over there, right? And there's like tons of good loot spots. There's tons of tech spots. There's multiple keyed rooms over there. There's a marked room over there. And all those keys still exist in the game. It is a fully lootable part of the map exactly as it was.
Oh yeah, I've still never been there.
Except now there are claymores and you need the thing to pass. And there's the boss Zerachi there all the time. But don't kill him because like... Oh, and then what's also... If you kill another... The game doesn't tell you this. If you kill another PMC on the bridge, so let's say in the snowball's chance in hell, you're out there and somebody else comes out there. If you kill a PMC over there, you now have negative karma with Lightkeeper, and it opens another like 5 or 6 quest line that you have to do before he gives you the next quest. But nobody knew that.
Trash.
But nobody knew that. And that one works the opposite way, where somebody said they were running on the bridge to go extract. They had already dealt with Lightkeeper and they were running to the extraction, but they were on the bridge and they saw someone on the beach and they sniped him and it counted. And it gave him the negative karma because he was on the thing, even though the person wasn't.
So is that supposed to be some bullshit version of like a passive, like safe zone?
Yeah, but the game didn't tell you that.
It should just enforce it. Disable mouse 1. Come on, like,
dude, crazy. So,
I
really don't know. I really don't. I don't know. And just because I don't know, doesn't mean there isn't a reason. But I don't know the reason. I don't know why Lightkeeper was added to the game this wipe. I don't understand it, man. I don't understand it. It's been interesting. It's been interesting to follow for sure. Props to the Giga Chads that have made it all the way through these quests, man. But it's weird.
I just wonder if this is their solution to like quote unquote end game.
Yeah.
Like
that's what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people are like, we want an end game. This is end game.
Like normal people playing this way, it would take like a year.
Yeah.
Except all the streamers who are gonna Giga speed run it in a month. And then what?
Yep.
I mean, I guess like I'm fine with them having nothing to do. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
But the issue comes from what happens when their audiences try to emulate it, and then also like the sentiment that follows where people just they're not even playing the game, they're just living vicariously through their streamer, and they're like, yeah, this game's dead, there's no reason to play, there's nothing to do, blah blah blah, like because you're either gonna do it and live through the terribleness, or you're gonna say, oh, I'm not even gonna no way, I'm not doing that. Oh god, that's
so like it's just there's so many layers where like even if it was all perfect, I feel like the quest design is something to be criticized. Even if he is endgame, why put him in now? Even if he is endgame, why wasn't a better expectation set? I feel like there are a few levels of justifiable criticism, or at least questions. And sure, the answer might be middle finger, get good. What we haven't told anybody is that this is like, I can see this happening. Haha, what we haven't told anybody is that if you've done those quests, that transponder persists. So it is endgame and it's not going to wipe, and you should have done it when you should. You know what I mean? And it's like, you should have done it because you would have been farther now. You know what I mean? It's just like, I feel like they're in this place where they could do just whatever they want. I feel like it was the plan. You didn't know, and you criticized us because you didn't know. And so I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know the answer. But it's been very interesting to find. Oh, and then that's the thing, you know, like all of the crafts for the military tech loot that were in the game are you unlock the recipe for those crafts by completing a bunch of these quests. So like we've talked about this circle before where they were like, here's something we want as a quest item. Oh no, everybody just buys it off the flea market. Let's make it found in raid. Oh no, it never spawns and people can't get it. Well, let's make a craft for it. And then they took away those crafts and put the crafts. So like I used to craft my military COFDMs for the task for that, but I have to complete that task and 73 additional tasks to unlock. Like nobody that unlocked those crafts will ever use them. They don't need money. They don't need the crafts. The Letix craft is one of them. You can't craft the Letix at med station level 3, which is how a lot of people would craft it for that thick weapons case or thick items case. But you have to like complete a Lightkeeper task to unlock the Letix craft. I am confused. I am confusion.
I mean, dude, like just I got no words,
Yeah,
man.
so
Like it's
that's the Lightkeeper situation currently. Maybe next week these guys will have a new quest, or maybe next week their stashes will be blessed by a bunch of loot that Lightkeeper sent them in the mail. But right now it's just you could basically say what they did was they just cut off the lighthouse again. And
how much you want to bet that like one day they're going to log in and they're going to go to their trader tab and there's just going to be one more picture there. What you've done is you've unlocked the picture.
The JPEG, you can't even click on it.
Well, no, I mean, they'll be able to click on it. But like that's the in-game trader.
Yeah.
I'm saying like you can go in-game and that. So it'll be just like a normal trader, except the quest isn't a quest tab. You have to go to him in an annoying way on a map that people still get like 25 frames on.
Yeah. Now there is like a really cool vibe of like watching those cutscenes, watching Rengar or Vibin like go to him and actually go up there and like see this NPC in game that's like talking and stuff like that. It's really cool, but I just don't know what it serves. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it currently serves the game. And
I should probably go watch those. Just like
I mean they're cool, dude. Like they're freaking cool.
It's not. I mean, like it kind of like some of the new things like the gym and stuff. I'm like I just don't want to see like have it spoiled. But like it's like
you're never getting
having a book spoiled that you don't plan on ever reading. Like sure, just spoil it for me. Like,
exactly.
Something tells me there's going to be a million more changes before I decide I'm going to go down this path.
I play this game as a full-time job, and I am nowhere close to being bothered to attempt those quests. No shot. Not if there's nothing at the other end. If there's something at the other end, maybe, but no.
I mean,
not for the Letix craft.
The only thing I can think of is that making it scarce by difficulty is the only way they can like hype it up. Like more than a video, let's watch the streamer do the thing, right? Which like there's a world in which you could actually say that that's almost like they're trying to give some of the hype to the streamers and almost like drops where they're but like I'm probably being way too generous there.
Well, and even if that was the intention, the opposite effect is happening. All the streamers are like, what are these quests? Like, this is dumb. There's nothing at the end. All the viewers are being like, this is gross. Like, even if that was the intention, the opposite is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like that's a thing.
And I
have a hard time believing that this is the end result and not just a temporary way of gating it.
I agree. Yeah. And I can see this, like, let's say what we got right now wasn't 0.13, but it was 1.0. I can like, I would criticize some of the quest design, but I can see this really hard, really long thing as like there's a lot of games have multiple endings. This is one of the ways you escape Tarkov, and maybe that's how you prestige or get an armband or something. Like if that's the point of the game, I can see like this guy wants a lot of specific things and wants you to do a lot of specific things for him. But we're not at 1.0 and nobody currently cares about escaping Tarkov. And so because then the other thing is like, well, they're testing the mechanics. It's like, what mechanics? They're playing .mp4s. and we have the same exact quest layout, and then they play MP4s afterwards. Like, what? Once again, I know I'm ignorant. I know I don't know a lot of the stuff, but I'm just like, well, what do you mean? You know?
Yeah, well, you don't know, and it's not because you haven't, like, it's unknowable.
Yeah.
Unless you work at the company, which is part of the problem.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, I'll start caring when
Yeah.
when it's like remotely relevant.
I
you
get
know.
it. I totally get it. Yep.
Oy, oy, oy.
Oi, oi, oi is right. But I think that's I mean, that's all the Tarkov news. We'll see.
Do we want to hear about
Oh yeah, story time.
overdosing on
Story
sleeping
time.
pills? Maybe.
Yes.
Do I want to tell that story today? All right, wait. Let me test something out real quick. Actually, can you hear this? Oh God, that's not a good sound. Could you hear that
sound? Yes. I can hear that.
Okay. So this is kind of like a two-prong story.
Okay.
So I did my undergraduate thesis. So I was in the honors program for the undergraduate program, which required a thesis.
Okay.
But you could do it unlike a master's thesis where it's usually focused on some area of research, whatever. You could basically do whatever you wanted. And it had to be like, the minimum was like 50 pages. I ended up writing like 300-page thesis naturally.
That does not surprise me.
And I ended up doing it on skepticism and the scientific method. So basically I, talked about everything from faith healers to astrology to alien UFO sightings to pseudoscience. I mean, just everything. I talk about everything. And then all of really, honestly, really similar to a lot of the things I've talked about in all of my videos, where it's like, these are the pitfalls of perception and memory and all of the things. It was kind of like that. You could say it was kind of modeled off of, if anybody's ever looking for something to read, one of my favorite books of all time, probably my favorite, second favorite, is Demon Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark by Carl Sagan. You can just search for A Demon Haunted World.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a general kind of skepticism sort of philosophy thing. Anyway, so I needed to give the presentation for this paper. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do was kind of a little bit of a stunt, and I stole this from, God, was it James Randi? You ever heard of James Randi?
Mm-mm.
He looks like a little tiny little Gandalf.
Huh.
He's basically a magician.
Okay.
But he's also been heavily involved in the world of skepticism. He debunked a bunch of the famous mediums that would go on and would say, oh, I'm talking to your dead sister or whatever, right? He was involved back in the day, in high profile debunking of one of the guys was this guy Uri Geller. I forget how to pronounce his first name. So anyway, one of the things he did was this stunt that I kind of replicated to talk about homeopathic medicine. Are you familiar at all with homeopathic medicine?
Maybe. No, not.
Quick little rundown about how
rock, the pink Himalayan
no.
rock. It's gonna heal me.
I mean, conceptually, yeah.
Okay.
It's magic, but here's what I did at the beginning of my talk, which I would not 100% recommend. I did this in GTA. I would not recommend doing this under any circumstances.
Now I understand. We're in GTA.
This is something I very strongly have to say don't do. I researched, I made sure, etc., etc., etc. Okay.
Yeah.
At the beginning of my presentation, I started off by saying, here is a bottle of homeopathic sleeping pills. At the time, it was the most common, most popular homeopathic sleep remedy.
Okay.
And I opened up the bottle and I
Oh,
dumped the whole thing in my mouth.
God.
And swallowed them all and was like, all right, now let's start. And then I went on with my 2-hour presentation.
No.
And guess what happened?
I mean, you freaking fell asleep?
Absolutely nothing. Because it's complete and utter bullshit.
Just nothing. Okay.
The way that homeopathy works, it was invented way back. I don't need to give a history, but let me just explain to you how it works. And actually,
so you like did this as a part of your presentation?
Oh, that was the opening.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it all homeopathy all relies on the idea that water has memory.
This is obvious. Yeah, I know that.
So if you introduce chemicals to water, the water has some sort of essence or something. I don't remember exactly the details. But also the strength of the effect of a chemical in water is inversely proportional to how much there is in it. So the more you dilute that substance in water, the more powerful it gets.
Wow.
So, and not only that,
I'm in.
but it's effectively the opposite of what you would expect. So the active ingredient in most homeopathic sleeping remedies is caffeine.
But not a lot, right? Because the less you put in, the better.
Well, let me tell you. So the one I had was like 30C or X. Don't quote me on this. It's been a decade since I've done this. But what that means is you take, a graduated cylinder of 100 milliliters, 100 parts or 99 parts water, 1 part caffeine. And then you got to shake it in like a really special way. It's a specific way.
Real?
You got to
for real?
For real, shake it in a really specific. I don't know. They have machines that do it. Now that is a solution that is 1C.
Okay.
So then you take a drop of that and you put that in 99 drops of water and you shake it up and you shake it up and then now that's 2C. And then you take a drop of that and after like the third or fourth thing, you hit Avogadro's limit, which what effectively means there's no chance there's a single molecule of caffeine in the entire, and then they do it again and again and again and again and again and again. It's water on a sugar pill. And that's homeopathic medicine.
Wow.
And there's a billion dollar industry. One of the not emergency, but what's that super common?
Like airborne?
Airborne is homeopathy. It's magic. It's a placebo. It does nothing.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, so
it's not really medicine, it's marketing.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Here's the thing. If alternate medicine was medicine, it would just be called medicine.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Okay.
Now, one of my good friends while I was in college was a nun that actually lived nearby the college campus. We'd meet for coffee every now and then, and we'd talk philosophy. She's the coolest nun you've ever met, Sister Lucille. Now she was standing in the front, or was sitting in the front during my presentation. I've got a video up from April 30th of 2011. You won't find it. It doesn't exist on the internet anymore, but I have a copy of it. Now, there is one of the drugs I was talking about. I don't remember if it was a sleep remedy or a flu remedy. The active ingredient is called oxylococcinum.
Okay.
And it's derived from duck liver.
Okay.
Now, I tried to say that duck liver during my presentation, and I failed. And I can't, oh God, How do I? Let me see if I can play this for you. You hear what I said. Now, keep in mind, at this very moment, I was making eye contact with a nun.
Nice.
And I said the following. A homeopathic flu remedy known as oxylococcinum, as far as I got that right the first time, is made from a 200C dilution of the liver of a duck. This 200C dilution is equal to 1 part dick. 1 part dick.
1 part dick.
And I just stopped. Eye contact with the nun, and went, oh. And I just continued on. Nobody said anything. Nobody.
One part dick.
But we all know. I'm gonna play it one more time because I can't. I still. It hurts. I can't. Physically. It. Of the liver of a duck. This 200C dilution is equal to 1 part dick.
Your reaction.
You hear me flabbergasting.
Oh, 1 part dick.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Sister Lucille.
Anyway, that's it. It's one of those stories that kind of takes a turn, especially with the title "Overdosing on Sleeping Pills." Not what you'd expect, but yeah, there you go. You learned a little bit about homeopathy.
I learned a lot of bit about homeopathy.
You got to laugh at me for saying made up 1 part dick
when I looked dick.
Precisely into a nun's eyes.
I don't think I've ever taken Airborne, but 20 minutes ago, I wouldn't have said it was a nothing. Like, I would have been like, yeah, isn't that like a Alka-Seltzer? Or,
yeah, what people take. It's what people take. It's like one of those
emergency liquid IV. You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
that's interesting.
Because you go to the drugstore and it's just on the shelf.
Yeah. And next to all the stuff with stuff in it.
And the problem is that like the Food and Drug Administration, they aren't there to determine that medicine does what it says it does.
Yeah.
They're just there to determine it's safe.
Yep. Wow. Yeah.
So there's no regulations around efficacy.
Yeah.
So that's also why they have like, oh, this in really small text hasn't been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, blah, blah, blah. The reason why is usually because, yeah, it just they don't just, as long as it doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
But the problem is that people seek out alternate medicine when they have cancer or when they have serious illnesses, or like people dying of COVID because they were taking some magical seltzer, and it's like,
yeah,
it's sad.
Yeah, it is. That is hilarious though.
But yeah, I mean, it's 1 part dick and then
1 part dick. That's definitely not the direction I thought a story named "Overdosing on Sleeping Pills" would go. So you really like hit me with the subverting of the expectations. You know what I mean?
I did put an asterisk. Overdosing on sleeping pills asterisk. So
this title has not been reviewed by the Food and Food and
I was just gonna say that. Oh God.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
bro.
So I added a new story time line item.
Ooh, what's it called?
There's one more we added. So far we have shotgunning a beer, bloodshed, eavesdropping on a neighbor's business call,
the stabbing,
which I feel like is probably going to be what people are going to want next time.
Yeah, it's got to be soon.
Ruptured spleen, Sun Microsystems $1 million, and the new one I just added, breaking into a house.
Breaking into a house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and also we need more Jesse story time too.
I know.
Because if you have them, let me know.
I just can't. I'm really bad at thinking them up on the spot. I feel like my life is a lot more exciting than I can think of right now. Yeah, I need to like make a list on my phone, and every time one comes to me, the only thing I could think of that was adjacent. Well, I was just gonna say, so that 300-page paper you wrote, was that for you said your master's?
My undergraduate.
Your undergraduate.
Yeah.
Dude, we had completely different schooling experiences. When I was in college, I went to community college. I did 2 years. I got my AA, and then I got married at 19, and I just quit college at that point. But like I was on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I remember from one of my classes, it was the day of the final. I had done nothing, and
that's how I was too.
The final was 2 parts. It was I don't remember what class it was for. It was a presentation and a speech. So like it had to be like actual like pictures and stuff. Yeah, like like a PowerPoint presentation and a speech. And I remember that the teacher just notoriously talked at the beginning of class like about his life and stuff for like ever. And so I sat in class, I opened up my computer and pulled up ProPresenter or PowerPoint, whatever. And while he was talking, I threw a bunch of pictures together. He said, "Who wants to go first?" I raised my hand. I plugged the computer in. I completely winged the speech. I hadn't thought about it for 7 seconds. Everybody clapped. He said, "Who wants to go second?" And while he was looking at his computer, I just left. And I got an A.
The ultimate Giga Chad
I got
move.
an A on the speech and the presentation, and he was looking down, and I just left. And then he looked up, and I was gone, and I never went back to that class again, but I passed it. Like that was my school. Like I
Holy
hated school so much, dude.
I mean, so I also hated school.
Yeah.
I did not try. I didn't, except for the things I actually was interested in. Like I was really good at math and science, but like I never studied for anything.
And I think
just
that was why I had a bad school experience, because I literally, like, you get out of high school, which is like, we could talk another time about, like 50% useless. And then I went to, I didn't know what I wanted to major in. At the time, I just wanted to be in a band. Like I was in a band and that's all I wanted to do.
Hell yeah, brother.
And so, but I got scholarships because of my grade to go like a few years to community college and just do the AA. And so while I was at college, I never got to the point in college where you were studying the thing you liked, the thing you wanted to be there for. I just went to college and did more high school, more math, more English. And so I got my AA and I got married and I just was like, screw this. You know what I mean? And then I'm really glad that it worked out for me. But like, I just didn't, I really think that was why, because it's funny because like one of the things I tell my wife all the time is like, I love to learn. We've talked about that before too. I'll spend 2.5 hours watching a video essay about something that doesn't affect my life at all, because and then I'll read articles about it and then I'll Google it and I'll be thinking about it for days, or I'll learn a skill that has nothing, like just because I want to learn it. Like when I have that desire, I love learning. I love absorbing information in multiple different ways, just like that would make you a good student. Just in school, I never got to that point where anything interested me enough. Yeah.
The only thing that ever interested me that I really wanted to dive into was like Ocarina of Time, like beating the whole game.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I had, and this is kind of like the paradox of like growing up, is that like I only ever had the desire to like learn and the passion to get good at things after, like literally after I was out of school. Like it was almost exactly once I was out of school that I suddenly was like, yo, there's all these things I'm interested in that I'm learning that I could pass a test on without studying, because I was so intrigued and so into this stuff. And it's pretty depressing.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like I could have easily done what I did without accruing over $100,000 in student loan debt if I had taken a 3-month like coding boot camp. But instead I got a business and econ undergraduate for 4 years and then went and got my master's for 3 years. And literally, like, the master's was a tiny line item on my resume. And what really got me my first few jobs was my GitHub and my Stack Overflow profiles. That was it. And it was just stuff I did. Like my master's degree was, I got a 4.0 GPA in my master's degree. And I promise you, it was never relevant to me ever getting a job.
And see, that's the thing, is like, as much as I hated school, I am glad that I dodged the bullet of I dual enrolled. So I got some of the credits in high school, and then I got scholarships for the AA. And so I had $0 of student loans, because I was just like, I was like telling my parents, I was like, dude, I don't know what I want to do. So please do not give me money to, or like make me And then I diverted the conversation because I was like, instead I want to get married. And they were like, you're 19. And I was like, I know. And then it was just like, oh God.
Dude, I feel like something's got to change in the next.
Yeah.
I feel like when we are like 50, that's when maybe we will come to the, like, as a society, come to the
I hope
conclusion that like everything's and needs to change. Because what when you're like 16, 17, 18 years old, what you should be doing is like basically the kind of like internships, but not working. It's more like job
like
shadowing,
vocational stuff. Yeah.
all the time, anywhere,
Yeah.
at different places, all over the place, to figure out what you might want to do, what you might be interested in. But instead, it's you need to learn a bunch of very like monolithic, regimented.
Yeah.
Here's physics. Here's math. Here's whatever. You want to be a doctor, or do you want to be? And it's like, you don't know how any of this stuff applies. You don't know what it's like to do those things every day. Like, it's so fucking
That's the
terrible.
thing, is that like a lot of people, and even some people in chat were like, I loved that I got my degree. It helped me so much. Like, I love school. Like, it's not that that's bad. It's just that like you loved going to school and learning about the thing you learned about, and it helped you with your career. Let's give more people that opportunity. It's not let's reduce it. It's if you don't want to do, I want to
get rid of post-grade healing IRL.
Yeah,
Post-high school healing IRL. Don't gatekeep me because your college was good. My college was...
You were interested in a thing that you enjoyed learning in school and that your degree helped. If someone else is interested in something else and they can learn it, and learning that skill benefits society, that should be rewarded as well, right? So that you should be able to start that path earlier, master it sooner, and then become that productive member of society doing that thing that interests you earlier. That's what the people that did enjoy school, that's what they got. It's just that I don't even think it's controversial to say that the way school works right now, there's a relatively limited number of things that can interest you and that a degree can tangibly appreciate your value. You know what I mean? Like you said, you did all that and you could have gone to a coding boot camp, done a lot of the same work, and still got your foot in the door. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, what's the harm in allowing you to have done those things earlier in school? You know what I mean? So
the more I hear people like getting out of college these days, because my little sister is literally like about to graduate, and a whole bunch of other folks in my family, like cousins and whatever, have people around that age. And it's like, people go to college, they get their degrees, 3/4 of the way through getting the degree, they realize they don't want to do that thing, but it's too late now. And it's like, something that there needs to be some sort of paradigm shift, I think, in figuring out like what kids are going to do with their lives.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a huge deal back in the day until, dude, this is like literally sounds like Tarkov. Until now, going through college is the price of a house. You know, and it's like,
the IRL MRE and water bottle is getting more and more expensive.
Yeah. So now those 4 years is not just 4 years of wasted time figuring out, exploring what you want to do with your life. It's putting yourself in potentially crippling debt. Yeah. To come out in a economy because the goddamn baby boomers don't know how to Bitcoin on 4chan or whatever. And, you know, now Facebook, I can't think of any other weird. I'm trying to sound like out of touch. You know, it's funny to be like, I don't know. I lost track of the
Facebook,
the thread there.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. Well, that was good. That took a turn. We got a little like micro Jesse story time of how terrible of a student I was.
Yeah, put some more things on the list. Put some more things on the list. And then I need to turn this into a sample.
This 200C dilution is equal to 1 part dick.
1 part dick. That needs to be your next like song. All your lo-fi like Carl Sagan, Neil deGrasse Tyson song. 1 part.
It's a 1 part dick.
Oh god, that would be so sick.
And even though I went to college and dropped out of school quick, I always had a PhD. A 1 part dick.
Hell yeah. One part dick. Well, that's the stuff, boys. That's the stuff. That's the Tarkov news. That's the hot news. That's the story time. That's the one part dick. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think like the sentiment is still excited for the changes, but just like we said, it's hard to sit in the W in Tarkov when the other things are still there and then new things are coming. So hopefully they fix the invisibility thing. That felt like it came on really fast, and they said they addressed it, but then it didn't really work. And so, but yeah, so as per usual, this episode will go live on Monday. Also, if you made it this far, just huge thank you. The views on YouTube have been going crazy. The people hanging out live has been going crazy. The downloads have been going crazy. Like, it's been awesome, man. Like, somebody asked me the other day, how many episodes do you think you'll do of the podcast? And I was like, we don't think that way. Like this was something that we started just to like do like forever, forever many episodes like this. It's really cool that we get sponsors, and it's really cool that people are subscribing. Like, this is just like, this was purely out of like enjoyment and fun that me and Veritas wanted to do this. And it's been so cool that you guys have been like responding to it and enjoying it. Like those are some of the most impactful. You know, I love YouTube videos. I love your stuff. Like, yo, I love the podcast because like those things are work. Like, I am here trying to think of YouTube videos. I am working, bro. But like this, like the fact that you guys share in the just pure enjoyment that me and Veritas get about just like talking about the games, talking about other games, talking about stories.
Chilling.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the like, you guys have been crushing it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for just putting us in the opportunity that we are here, and it's been fun. So all the episodes is the plan. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So yeah, it's been pretty sick. So yeah, so this episode will go live. Thank you guys for hanging. Thank you again so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode, and we will definitely see you all on the next one.
Peace.